What's good, motherfuckers? We're back with another episode of World 1-1 Podcast. Before we get into all the meat and taters, you can and should, as always, find us at our home at world11.podbean.com, all spelled out, all one word. You can also pick up all the fun stuff when we're playing live on Twitch over at twitch.tv/World11 Podcast, all spelled out for you. Excuse me. And we've also got that fancy YouTube channel thing going on where if you miss us on Twitch, you can catch all the replays up on YouTube, as well as some of the other extra goodies like unboxings and other sort of things. So that's all there. But with all that out of the way, everyone has a lovely glass poured of fluo, and we are ready to start. So I am, as always, your host, Larry the Bearded Wonder. Joining me this evening, the only man that I know that can only get an erection when angry, which is pretty much always, Michael Brown.
Why you gotta call me out like that? You promised you wouldn't say anything.
I was kind of expecting you to go, I hate you, and go, he's got a heart on.
God damn it. I'm gonna talk to the HR department.
You have a complaint, you can file it with the HR department. And joining us off camera but on mic this evening, the Whiplash Wonder, Kathleen.
I don't know how I can follow up after that introduction for Michael, and I picked the wrong week to come back. Damn. And I'm glad I'm not on camera because I am blushing like a freaking fire truck over here. Damn.
We're clearly off to a roaring start, and I haven't even been drinking.
Okay. Oh, Larry. Damn it, Larry.
Pretty much.
Oh.
I say you should know this is par for the course. So.
Nah, you haven't gone that far before.
I don't know. Be glad Eddie's not here after the conversation that we had yesterday.
That is true. Okay. All right, we're done.
That was totally going to come up if he turned up tonight.
I know.
What conversation?
You scroll up in Shadowways, you'll find it eventually. You may wish you hadn't.
All right, not gonna listen to you. I'm gonna forget this part. To be fair, I was probably gonna forget in about 15 seconds anyway, but
Pretty much. Don't worry, I'll remember and I'll screenshot it and send it to you direct.
So anyhow, moving on, everybody. It's good to see y'all this week.
It is good. It's been a decent week. I haven't gotten to play as much shit as I wanted to, but it's been a decent week. It's been busy. So, but I did get to play some stuff, and I imagine you guys got to play some. Kathy, I know you got to play some stuff, and I know Michael was playing some stuff about 10 minutes ago. So, with all that said, let's get straight to, oh my god, video games. Kathy, what the fuck have you been playing? And I don't want to go too deep on that one specific title, because I actually want to dig deep on it in the back half.
Sure. So not much. Just the same old stuff. Just Apex, Fortnite, and Minecraft. Minecraft's been kind of the big focus right now on my channel, just because I'm just really kind of got back into it, and it's one of those games that sucks you in, and I'm just like, oh, let's go explore. And yeah, we had some saga in my game. I accidentally made like 20 million iron swords, used up all my. It was a total accident when I did it. And then it was like, shit. Don't ask. I don't even want to go into it. It was embarrassing. So now the big joke is we're going to make a whole chest full of iron hose. But I was happy. Yesterday, I was streaming and I didn't die once in Minecraft.
There you go.
But the same thing cannot be said for Ori and the Blind Forest, which was the other game I really played. And I finally finished it, and I have some thoughts. Mm-hmm. And they're not necessarily the same thoughts that the entire group feels.
That's why I like this group.
So, yes, but it's over. It's done with. Yeah.
So what's the next big one you want to tackle?
Oh, geez. I'm probably either looking at Hat in Time or trying to think, or Celeste. Those are the
Ooh.
two that are on my list of games I'm interested in. And only because my daughter has been playing them. And see, this is interesting because all the games you guys have been suggesting to me, I've given to my daughter to play. And she has found a love for them. She loved Ori. She's looking forward to the new Ori coming out. I thought I was going to be in the same boat. Nuh-uh. But she also, I think, had an easier time with it than I did. And again, I know you want to talk about that later. So, but yeah, no, I mean,
I will
really
say,
it.
I suspect, given your take on Ori, I don't know that you're gonna have a good time with Celeste.
And I know we kind of talked about that last night during my stream. So, yeah, I don't know.
But yeah,
But these are games that I've gotten. A lot of them I've been able to pick up for free on the Epic Game Store. So it's like, why not play them?
right.
So, there's just.
I mean, if you've got it, I would definitely suggest tinkering around with it at the very least.
Yeah, I mean,
Just don't commit yourself to sticking to it if you're not having fun with it.
Well, I don't do that with any game. Honestly, it's like that with a lot of games. I mean, if I'm not having fun with the game, I'm not going to go back to it. Like Doom. I know you've been getting on my case that I need to finish Doom for the Let's Play, but honestly, I didn't care for it all that much. It was okay, but it just doesn't. It gets to a point where it's like, no, I don't care anymore. And I think the same thing with what's the other game I've left unfinished? Well, not BioShock. BioShock I do.
Was it Rhyme?
Was it Rhyme? Yes. I just haven't really had the urge to play it. Now, it's not because it's a bad game or a game that I'm not liking. I just haven't had the urge because I thought I was done with it and I didn't realize there was more to it. So I just haven't.
Mm-hmm. Rhyme is one of those that you definitely want to have yourself in the right frame of mind to play.
Yeah.
That being said, I know you were just starting Chapter 2, if I remember right.
Correct.
And I will tell you, Chapter 2 is definitely the low light of Rhyme.
Okay.
And it's a shame it's that early on because it's a real fast turnoff. But if you can push through Chapter 2, which it is doable, I mean, once you kind of get a rhythm for the pacing and the big kind of ominous, bird fear creature thing coming and getting you, and you know how much time you have to get from one cover to the next, it's manageable. But like I said, if you can get through Chapter 2, everything past that, fucking spectacular.
Okay. Because I liked Chapter 1. I just didn't realize there was more to it. So here I am thinking, oh, game done. No. There's more. Okay. Yeah. So, and I was like, all right, we'll come back to it. I just haven't gotten back to it because a lot of it, too, goes back to Fortnite. A lot of people like to watch me play Fortnite. I do like Fortnite because I like having that sense of, challenges to complete, which is where I really like Fortnite. Not so much the game itself. It's the fact that, there's things I can accomplish, challenges I can get, and then things I can get for those accomplishments. And maybe that reward is what I like more than some of these other games where there has to be some sort of reward, and sometimes the reward is not there. Yeah. So, but I do have to get back into Ryan. I do want to get back into that game. And then again, BioShock still need to get back into when I finish that one. So, but, time, work, whatever. Okay.
Life, yeah. So, I feel you. And then that leaves the question to Michael. What have you been playing? What are the highlights?
I started Monster Boy. It's like Monster Boy and Cursed something or other. I don't even remember.
Yeah.
And it's got a lot of promise to it, but it starts out really slow, and it just wasn't grabbing me at first. So I decided I'll just come back to it later.
Okay.
I'm only like maybe 20 minutes into it. And then I started playing Rad.
What is it?
It's called Rad, just R-A-D. And this game, I didn't know if I was going to like it at first because I had no idea what it was. It just looked interesting. But imagine if Dead Cells and Hob had a baby, okay? And then passed it off to Brutal Legend to raise.
Interesting. What is it on?
It's on Switch. I'm playing it on
Is
Switch
it?
right now. Yeah.
Okay.
It's a roguelite, isometric view, where the whole premise is something happened and the whole world is an irradiated wasteland. And
Okay, now I know why it's called Rad.
yeah, and basically your character is given the ability to absorb radiation, to mutate, and given a baseball bat and sent out into the wilderness. And like there's 3 characters you can choose from at the beginning, just random boy, random girl, punk boy. With like a mohawk and shit like that.
Mhm.
And I'm really enjoying it. Like it's challenging, but it's like some of the mutations are both really funny and really clever. I've had a lot of fun with it so far.
Okay. I'm gonna stick that on my wish list then.
Yeah, like as I said, I because I saw it a long time ago, but I think before I had a Switch, I saw it advertised on the PlayStation Network, and I was kind of caught my eye, but I never paid attention to it. And I think it went on sale recently, so I was like, all right, fuck it, gimme.
Okay.
And I've been sitting on it for a couple weeks, and I finally actually got around to trying it out. But as I said, like there's an announcer guy that's constantly talking. Every time you pick up money, it's like Jack Black basically from Brutal Legend. Just like every time you pick up something, he's like moolah and shit like that. So it's really funny.
Okay.
And like all the creatures, they are basically just weird mutant creatures and shit like that. And basically every board is randomly generated, but there are certain things that are going to be like automatic each time, such as you'll have to go through and activate 3 like checkpoint type things to actually open the way to the end, and there'll always be a minor boss fight in order to get through that last part.
Right. There's some staple features, but the order in which they're hit is rearranged, kind
Yeah,
of a la Dead Cells.
yeah.
Okay. I can get behind that.
It's been a lot of fun. I guess
What did
I'm
you
actually.
pay for it out of curiosity? Because I'm staring at it at full price of $20.
I believe I paid 15.
Hmm. I don't know. I'll have to look a little closer at it and see whether or not I want to pay full price on that, or if that's going to wait for.
Don't pay full price.
Okay.
Like
That's
it's
all that
great, but it's not the best thing I've ever played. But as I said, it reminds me a lot of a weird cross between Dead Cells and Hob, because it plays a lot like Hob. The overhead and your movement is slightly floaty, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
But like the random items that you find and things like that, the random mutations, as I said, they're different every time.
Interesting.
And then there are certain things you can like buy from people that will give you like passive mutations, such as the to where fire won't hurt you anymore, or you can walk through acid water now and instead of getting hurt by it. There was one mutation I got that literally turned your bat arm into another like a monster that is holding its own bat. And so as you like sit there and run around, it's doing this like and it was funny as shit. I was cracking up. But
That's awesome.
Yeah, at the same time, your character was twice as powerful with that mutation.
Oh, of course.
God, even better.
Yeah, and as I said, like there's others where each mutation has a very distinctive look that it mutate. Like there's one where you can fire mind bullets. They literally say mind bullets, and basically your brain pops up through the top of your head. Like there's another one where you got these spore things hanging off your back.
Damn.
And as I said, it's all kinds of weird shit. Like the one that I have in the campaign I'm running right now is it's a boomerang arm. Your arm basically is L-shaped, bladed, and you literally tear it off and throw it.
Nice.
And so every time you throw it, your character's and then it comes back and he attacks it. I don't know. I've had a lot of fun with it.
That reminds me, if you ever listened to or read, I can't remember if I told you about this or not. It was a story called Playing for Keeps.
No.
So it was by Mur Lafferty, and it's about a bunch of people with like what would have been deemed useless superpowers, and one of the characters has the power to detach their limbs and grow them back, essentially. And, fundamentally useless as powers go, but, they find a way to make it useful, at least at one point throughout the story. But I think you'd really dig it, because it's about the main character, Keepsy Branson, who owns this bar, and one night a week, I think it was like Thursdays. They call it Third Wave Thursdays, where all these people come in that have these, useless superpowers that got rejected by the Union of Superheroes or whatever it was. And, it's kind of just a night for them at the bar. But she has one of these useless superpowers, in being that anything that she owns, she keeps. She cannot be stolen from. Like, the story opens with another character trying to steal something from the Lost and Found box from her bar. And that character's literally stuck until she mentally releases him.
I like it.
Come to find out, her superpower not so useless.
Yeah.
She finds that out when somebody tries to kill her. And he's stuck because he tried to take her life.
Oh.
And this is written out then, or?
It was originally released as a free patio book, but I do believe there's a print version as well.
Huh.
And I do
I'd
believe
love to check
you'll
that
get
out.
it free. I'll see if I can find a link and send it to you. As
Please.
a matter of fact, if I find the link, I'll throw it in the show notes too. So, but no, it's super good. Anything by Mur Lafferty is fucking spectacular, and she puts out most all of her stuff for free anyways. So,
So it kind of reminds me of there's a show from maybe 10, 15 years ago, a British show called No Heroics. There's a similar concept. Basically, B-list superheroes, and it's the after work, basically. They're hanging out at this bar, and the main heroes are constantly making fun of them, and like it's actually a pretty funny show. I think they only did one season of it, though.
Oh, sad. Happens to a lot of the best shows.
Mm-hmm.
Yup.
Oh. All right. Anything else you want to throw in there that you've been playing that's caught your eye lately?
I started Grease, or whatever the fuck
yeah.
it is, but like I just wasn't in the right frame of mind, and I figured that out really quick. That it's gorgeous, but it just I wasn't ready for it. So I was like, I got to come back to this later.
Fair enough. Is that soundtrack not spectacular though?
It really is.
Oh, so pretty. I do want to go back and actually try and find all the collectibles. And it's short enough. I might divert, depending on how much longer the messenger takes me. I might divert and actually do maybe like a 2-stream sitting to stream it on our channel. So I have the inclination. It's I just immediately wanted to play it again as soon as I finished. So, but yeah,
it felt very similar to Journey.
I still haven't gotten to play Journey, but that might actually get to change thanks to LeGroux.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Oh,
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, you might have noticed I changed his name in
Yeah, I saw that.
So anybody that's ever listened to Retro Force Go, the original host of that, his name was Dyson, and there was a running joke that apparently he just lived by a magic Goodwill store because he forever found all this amazing retro game shit at his local Goodwill that all the rest of, everybody else is like, what fucking Goodwill do you go to that this shit happens at? Because this is bullshit. So, but we'll see if that pans out. It's up in the air, but maybe, which would be neat. But anyways, so yeah, no, I do hope you get yourself into the right place to sit down with Chris, though. It's spectacular. I think you're gonna really dig it when you're there.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right. Well, I suppose I'll pick it up from there. The big one on my list for the week, I touched on it just briefly last week, but I did finish it actually right after the recording. I stayed up till 3 a.m. I'm like, I must finish this. I need the end of this game because it was so fucking good. I finished playing Hellblade, and holy shit, just spectacular. I shared a video in the group chat, and I'm guessing, Michael, you didn't watch it yet because I know you were kind of dodging the spoilers.
Yeah.
But this guy talks about, because the one of the big cruxes of this is that the main character Senua has like full blown psychosis, like hears voices, audio and video, visual, hallucinations, the works, all sorts of weird shit. And this guy talks about, he's apparently been running his YouTube channel for some time, and he's got some semblance of a following. I don't remember the numbers, but sizable, decent, and huge compared to us. I'm going to throw that out there for stipulation's sake. But in any case, he was saying that of any game, this is one that really hit home for him because he personally has lived with psychosis all his life. And he said the representation and the depiction of psychosis in Hellblade is so terrifyingly accurate. It's just brain bending. The way that they do like the voices, how it's, you're not just hearing a voice coming through the speakers, but the way that you kind of hear them coming from like all over the fucking place, and that there's a bunch of them, and that they're all kind of like arguing with each other. Like some of them are, kind of helpful and pushing Senua to, you can do it, you've got this kind of thing, and others like, you're gonna fucking fail, and why you even bother kind of shit. Just all at the same time, and he's like, it's horrifyingly accurate, and it's absolutely an exhausting reality to live with. Compound that too with, he said, the way they depict a lot of the visual hallucinations, almost not quite the right word, but it's as close as I've got. There's parts, minor spoiler, but it's a repeated mechanic. There's parts where, say, you'll need to get across like a bridge, but it's broken, and there's just like pieces kind of fucking floating in the air, right? And in order to get across that bridge, you have to move around and find a place where you have a viewpoint where all those pieces line up, and it looks like one reassembled bridge from that angle, and just focus on it mentally and visually, and it brings the whole thing back together again in reality to where she can, walk across this bridge. But until you appease that visual hallucination, it's just uncrossable to you. And he said, he's like, it's weird to wrap your head around, but real life living with psychosis, you get that sort of weird shit where you have to visually and mentally see something a certain way before your brain can process it as reality, and you can actually do something with it. And I'm just like, Jesus. So, but thematically beyond that, you'll see some carryover themes from Gris, as it has a lot to do with death and grieving. It's not quite so heavy-handed on the whole 5 stages of grief as like Gris or Rhyme is. Those are very blatant and very obvious, whereas this is more watching somebody that already doesn't have a stable connection with reality, dealing with the loss of a loved one, and combine that with the world of Norse mythology to boot. And she's questing to save her lover from hell, and the end result is, I really liked it. I've seen a lot of people that are like, fucking bullshit is that, where she just kind of, the game has a very tonal 180 shift from what it's presented you the entire way through. But at the same time, I think it functioned really well. I also think too, because I know a lot of people, I saw a lot of complaints about the music selection for the end credits after a game that mentally heavy. But I will say, I think the lighter, almost poppier tune was a really good choice. I mean, it wasn't like super pop kind of thing, but it was definitely a much lighter tone, and I think it was a very welcome relief to hit at the end of such a mentally taxing and absorbing game. I mean, it'll rack your brain in playing it. Not so much in the challenge, but it is just very. It can be taxing on your mental health to try and experience, because this game so presents that psychosis. Even though it's not a first-person game, you kind of experience that psychosis in a first-person way because of how it presents. And so it's very, very heavy, and at no point does it relent. It just lays it on and on and on. And it does not let you breathe from that reality. It does not let you out of her world one little bit. And so you're going to spend a fair bit of time wondering, is that actually happening, or is she just think it is? And in some of it, you know, some of those things are very obvious to pick out, and there are some things you will definitely question and never really get a solid answer on. But it's extremely intense, but it's very powerful and very, very good. Added note too, the music, the final boss fight itself was very interesting. It takes a very different take compared to most any other game. And the music into that whole final section was spec-fucking-tacular. Again, a big shift in tone, but very fitting for that particular scene. Visually, it had a solid shift in that end section, too, leading up to Hella. But I was super, super excited when I found the soundtrack to Hellblade on Google Play Music. I was like, hell yeah! I'm like, yep, played it back. That one song is just as excellent as I thought it was going to be. And side note, because I know you're about to... You're going to be sitting into it probably at some point in the near future. The soundtrack to Gris is also on Google Play Music as well. So, which I have no inclination to listen to the full Hellblade soundtrack on its own, separate from the game, except for that one track. The Gris soundtrack I have listened to just by itself repeatedly. It's so good. So, but beyond Hellblade, I started puttering with some Dead Cells again because it's actually been a while since I've picked it up and played it. I was thinking about it going, man, this was like my default game for a long time, and I've just been busy like picking off other shit out of my backlog finally.
Mhm.
You know, I was just in a mood. I'm like, I'm finally gonna get some of this shit played. Fuck everything. It's happening. And so hence, you know, getting through Gris and Hellblade and finally finishing Gato Roboto and, you know, a few other odds and ends. But, man, I picked it up and, like, I feel very oddly unfamiliar with my controls all of a sudden. It took me a hot minute to get back to them. I'm like, this is fucking weird. But I'm super pumped for the DLC to come tomorrow. Oh, I want it. I found the entrance to one of the new sections already.
Oh, yeah?
They've loaded it in a patch, so it's there. It's just waiting to unlock tomorrow with my $5 purchase. So, which again, I have no qualms about paying $5 for that. Not with as much game as I've gotten out of that over the last year and a half since it came out.
Yeah, you've gotten a lot. Mm-hmm.
Oh God, hundreds of hours, just absurd.
Yeah, you played it a lot. Yes.
So, but I'm happy to throw some dollars at them, especially for what they charge for that game. That's more than reasonable. On top of that, too, we got some more Dead Cells animated shorts, which all of their animated shorts are so fucking delightful.
There's more than one?
Oh yes.
Oh, Attack on
You need to go check out Motion Twins YouTube channel because they've done a lot of those shorts for various promotions and like previews. They did it for Rise of the Giant and a few other just odds and ends. They're fucking awesome. I really want just like a full blown animated series where I get, you know, a couple of 5-minute shorts, little 3 to 4 minute standalone shorts a week would be just amazing. Or just give me like one 5-minute short a week that's its own little, you know, goofy non sequitur story in Dead Cells world with that anime. I would be in love, head over heels. That's automatic subscription to whatever. You can charge me money for that. I will buy it. Like I would totally spring for a whole collection of those shorts on a DVD happily. Because they're all just as good as that. Like they have awesome action and just phenomenal animation and just that perfect little touch of humor in there in places where you just don't expect it. So it has a certain Looney Tunes-esque vibe to it.
All right, yeah, I'll have to hunt those down.
Yeah. So you'll adore them. I'm shocked you haven't seen them. I'm a little stunned that you missed that. Holy shit. I didn't realize you hadn't. Otherwise, I'd have sent them to you long ago. So, but that's what I've been playing. So we've rambled long enough on this section. So we're gonna be back in just a minute. After the break, we're gonna deep dive on a topic pertaining to Kathy's rage, and
it was okay. It was a rage during the scene. It was not a rage after. I think I had some good points that were not rage worthy. Okay.
Oh, I know you did. That's why I want to dig into this. I think we have absolutely the perfect trio of people here for that subject. So
yeah,
but,
2 against 1.
No.
Thank God I'm a female and
we just happen to have 3 people here that like Metroidvanias.
I love Metroidvanias though too.
Exactly, and that's why
it's not a Metroidvania game though.
Yes, it is. We'll get into it.
All right, we'll get into it after the break.
So yeah, with that said, break, and we're back with the third half of the show. This week we're gonna deep dive into the essence of a Metroidvania. No, there's some back and forthing on the subject here, and some of this came about from Kathy finishing Ori on Twitch last night. Some of this is bits of a conversation that I've had with various people in different parts over the last couple of years. But I'm kind of actually I'm excited to get to kind of put this conversation all together in one place tonight. So I want to start with since we kind of put a pin in it for this section, Kathy. I'd like for you to come out and share your thoughts on Ori now that you've finished it.
Okay. So again, if you want to see the actual take on it, do go to my Twitch channel, Violet Storm with a 0 instead of an O, where you can find that video. But music, really beautiful. Art style, beautiful. I love the characters. The story, I was really intrigued with it. That's what kept me going. I wanted to see how it ended. Gameplay, I don't know what the fuck they were thinking, but that gameplay was horrible, in my opinion. And it actually caused me to really not like the game. And in the end, especially with that last final rush of having to escape the tree, and again, spoiler alerts, but
it's a couple years old. We're good.
I know. No, I still think you should do spoiler alerts because in this day and age, some people don't see these games until years later. There's a lot of games that came out years ago that I still haven't played that I will probably play, and then maybe don't want to have spoilers. So, anyhow. Fair. But that was so frustrating and irritating in that I couldn't that that the difficulty went from being, there were parts of the game that had a very easy difficulty. Then you go into the dungeons where the difficulty was like quadrupled, and it was unexpected, and there was no breathing room, and it wasn't like a progression in most Metroidvania games that I played where there is that progression in difficulty. You go from playing really easily to boom, you're getting your ass handed to you, and then it goes back to being somewhat easy, and then boom, you get your ass handed to you, and then the very ending, it's trying to incorporate everything that you learn, but at the same time, it's not very forgiving. So you have to almost be a perfectionist to get through that last part. And it frustrated me to the point where I finished the game. I wasn't satisfied. I was like, I don't like this game. I wasn't even happy with the ending. Normally, I feel a sense of accomplishment. I feel a sense of, I did it. And, there's that euphoria that comes from finishing a game and seeing the ending and watching the story finish and the completion, and you're like, yay. Even when you've had those difficult moments, because let's be honest, there's a lot of games that have difficult moments that frustrate you. I mean, we've talked about it before where you just can't beat a boss, so you put it down, come back the next day, and then it's like that boss was the easiest piece of shit you've ever dealt with.
Yeah.
I mean, we've all had that, but this game never felt like that. And it was so sad that when I finally finished the game, instead of having that sense of accomplishment, I just was like, I hate this game. I don't like this game. This was stupid. What was the point of all of that? And so it's not on my list of favorite games. And unfortunately, it's due to that gameplay. It's due to that difficulty curve I was playing on normal difficulty. I'd hate to see what the hell I would have had to do on like extreme level, hard, whatever the top difficulty is.
Right.
So it'll have more life. That's really the only difference.
So, but that also brought up a question, and we kind of talked about this. I know you were in the chat, so we didn't really get to talk face to face, and I was just more spewing my thoughts. But, it made me think, is it because I'm just older and I don't have the control or the same motor skills that I used to have? My daughter fell in love with the game. She played it. She finished it, no problem. She's looking forward to the sequel. Me, I hate the game. There were a few moments of joy. I really liked the middle temple. It was a great mechanic, and I had fun with those puzzles, and I had fun getting through that. But the rest of it just was like, this is stupid. Had no purpose in my mind. It just, and frustration. So, and it just, I couldn't help but keep raging. I mean, Larry kept telling me, maybe you should put it down. No, I'm going to finish this stupid game tonight, because if I don't finish it, I was not going to come back to it. That's the other thing. I knew if I stopped, I was never going to come back. So, it's not a game I want to go back and play after all of that. But the music's beautiful. The art style is beautiful. The gameplay just was not. It could have been handled better, I think.
So, my other question to you then is, you commented that it's not a Metroidvania. I want to hear more on this, because I kind of want to dissect into that thought.
Well, and I think I said just because I'm being bitchy about the game itself. Truthfully, I think the reason why I said it is because I enjoy Metroidvania type games. I enjoy the exploration. I enjoy the having to look for that next upgrade to be able to move forward.
Mm-hmm.
Or you didn't feel like I had to. There were times I had to, and there were some things, but I didn't have to find everything. A lot of time, and in Metroidvania games you don't have to, but you do have to find most of the upgrades.
Yeah.
You may not have to find every missile expansion. You may not have to find every heart container, but you do have to find a lot of the main sources of your skills. I didn't have to do that for Ori. Like, at the end, I was able to upgrade to being able to swim in water. I'm at the damn end of the game. That would have been helpful back then, but I didn't need it to get to that end game. So there was that issue I had, that there were upgrades that might have been helpful with exploration, but weren't needed to finish the game, in a sense. So in that regard, I say it's not Metroidvania. They're also, but I mean, if you want to talk about looking at it from the standpoint that there is that exploration, you do need to get some upgrades to get to the next area and to be able to do certain things, then yes, it has that Metroidvania aspect to it. So
I say it doesn't solidly hard lock a lot of things behind certain abilities and upgrades the way most Metroidvanias do, but it does lock some of it.
It has the aspects of a Metroidvania game, but I don't know. But there, I guess we also think of Metroidvania games with combination of more combat and the exploration, whereas Ori I felt was more platformer than combat.
Yeah,
there wasn't really a lot of combat. I didn't have to kill guys.
Right.
And that throws me, because I like, games where I get to destroy things. Lots of things. Bad guys. Space pirates. Right.
Now, to that end, and I'm curious to hear your thoughts, Michael, because Lord knows this has been a big piece of our friendship for, God, what, 20 years?
Yeah.
At least. But to me, there's two major components to most Metroidvanias, and you see some games in the genre lean more into one side or the other in a lot of cases. One being the combat side of things, the action piece, as it were, and the other side of that being the mobility aspect, where you get upgrades that will give you more options in terms of movement. To kind of take it down to a base component, you've got, take Metroid as an example, just because it's such a route that balances those two so well as a series.
The name.
Right, there's a reason that's the root word in there, or half of the root word. But you've got your combat upgrades, things like your beams, your missiles, your bombs and stuff. But then you've also got mobility upgrades that fundamentally change the way that you explore through a space, like the space jump, like the spider ball. And for my money, Ori to me is still very much a Metroidvania, but it leans almost exclusively, not entirely, but almost exclusively on the mobility side of things, and lets go of almost all the combat.
Yeah, combat is entirely tertiary in this.
Yes, it is.
The only time combat ever really becomes a part of it is if you grind for soul points or whatever the hell they're called.
Right.
That's really about it. Otherwise, yeah, it's entirely traversal based.
But I think that was the other issue I had with it, is that their controls with it were bad, and we got to get into that. But continue. I'm sorry.
No, it's all right. I was just gonna say, I think though that it doesn't make it any less Metroidvania, just that's the side of the equation that it chose to emphasize over the other.
But does that make a Metroidvania game then, if you focus on one as opposed to having both? Because aren't Metroidvania games focus on both equally?
No,
not apparently.
Very, very few of them, like Larry said earlier, there certain games will tend to lean harder into one more than the other, and like most of them will strike some kind of decent balance. I think, like Larry said, the Ori takes much more of the exploration as you know, and combat is entirely secondary. I honestly like. As I said, I still think in that regards, like just the exploration alone, that makes it more of a Metroidvania than any other genre.
And I will say, just to kind of give you an example here, I think Hollow Knight might be the flip side of the coin to Ori, or maybe even Blasphemous, honestly.
Yeah.
I would say not Hollow Knight. Hollow Knight has a good combination of exploration and combat. I felt that was very equal.
Mm-hmm.
It does, and I want to clarify, I'm not necessarily talking exploration so much as I am mobility. Because
Okay.
I think those are your two big pieces. Because you're
Okay.
going to get a big exploratory component no matter what. That's kind of like the crust of the pizza. Every pizza has a crust, but the balance of sauce, toppings, and everything else is what changes depending on whether you're talking Chicago style or New York style.
Okay.
Just as an example, to translate it to things that we here at the show always appreciate: food.
Then let me correct myself. I felt that both the combat and the movement were equal importance, because you really had to almost find this. You almost had to find his next ability before you could get to areas that you needed to get to. There, and you also needed to do the combat there. That's what I was going to say.
No, I don't think you're wrong, but I do think though that, and like I said, I'm going to correct myself here and say that I think Blasphemous is probably the better polar opposite to Ori, but I'm think
willing to
Hollow
agree
Knight
with you on that
a little
one.
more into the combat side than the mobility side. That there is a shift, and I didn't feel like Hollow Knight was as much of a 50-50 balance as like Metroid is per se. I do think Hollow Knight has definitely has more combat focus in terms of its ways of pushing forward through blocks than it is mobility. Because there's honestly only a small handful of mobility upgrades, and I don't think they so much change the way that you move and explore through the space so much as it just makes a couple of things suddenly reachable that weren't.
Well, again, it depends on how you use them, because I felt that they helped me get through the spaces better than. But
True.
Again, that's difference of opinions.
But I it's part of what I find fascinating in recent years as I've spent some time thinking about it. I'm just randomly off and on about the genre in general, is that the recipe for it is flexible.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking over the years, and this came up in a big way. God, it's been almost 20 years now. It'll be 20 years next year that Metroid Prime came out. That it raised the big question: what makes a Metroidvania? Because you had a lot of people going, Metroid Prime is definitely a Metroid game. It's so a Metroid game, and subsequently, therefore, a Metroidvania. And you had a lot of other people that are like, no, it's not. The fuck is wrong with you? And I think, you had people in both camps, and depending on which camp you fell in, kind of determined what the more important ingredient was that made it a Metroidvania game. And so I'm kind of curious because again, you've kind of been my lifelong partner in this genre more so than anybody else that I've ever really had, up until recent years. But I'm curious, what specifically defines a Metroidvania game for you, Michael? Because I know you haven't played the Prime games.
Because in my eyes,
shame.
like they're shooters, then I can't do shooters.
Oh.
Like I'm so bad at shooters. What defines?
But those are good games.
I believe you. I really do. Like Larry has told me enough that I know most of the story anyway. Because
you should play it.
You know why it's not like a shooter? because you can lock onto your targets. That's what makes it different. You don't have to really aim. You just have to lock on.
I played through Other M, and the simple.
Other M is a whole other issue.
I know, but just fucking listen to me. The part in Other M where in order to fire missiles, you have to point the Wiimote at the screen, and suddenly you go into first-person mode. That part freaked me out so bad because suddenly I have to aim that I can't do it. Like, it's literal panic attacks.
Dang, I'm sorry.
And I can understand that because it's very jarring from the rest of the game.
Yeah, that would
like
be real,
otherwise, gameplay-wise, it wasn't a terrible game. Story-wise, it sucked. But, like
I still like the story.
I stand by it that it's a great game if you can mute it.
Yeah.
Oh, shut up!
I'm sorry. Samus shouldn't be. She reminds me of a cheesy ass Disney princess. Like,
she's not a cheesy ass Disney princess in that game. My God.
Bullshit. Every 15 minutes, like, I sure hope Adam lets me use this time. Fuck that.
That was her in her youth, okay? When you look at it, it's her in her youth. She grew. It was a growing story. She learned how to take care of herself.
All right, I'll give you that. No, but what defines a Metroidvania more than anything else to me is the exploration. Like, the fact that your upgrades are... Most of your upgrades are going to be traversal based more than anything else. Something to help you climb higher or get through smaller spaces. Right. Like the other part of Metroidvania, the Vania part, the Castlevania Symphony of the Night, is one of my all-time favorite games. Just because of so many hidden areas and all the, like, the mist form that allows you to get into certain areas and just all the weird shit. Like, you know, my favorite item in that whole fucking game was... because there's so many items, I forget what they're called, but there's a pair of boots that all their description says is discreetly increase height. They make your character 1 pixel taller. They have no other benefits at all. That is fucking phenomenal to me. And, like, I've been obsessed with, like, because, I mean, I grew up with Super Metroid. I played Super Metroid. Like, Super Metroid was the first Metroid I've ever beaten. Like, because I remember getting lost really easy in the original one on Nintendo, and I just never went back to it.
Well, and with the existence of Zero Mission, there's not really a good reason to.
Exactly. Yeah. I have finished Zero Mission since. And
I finished the original Metroid, so to you.
On
the Nintendo at that, too. Woohoo!
You ain't special. What's it called though? Like the Castlevania series. Like, I specifically bought a DS. A DS just to continue buying the Castlevania games.
Yeah, well, those were good games.
Because, like, the 3D Castlevania games have, for the most part, been, you know, varying degrees of garbage. Lords of Shadows was a good game, but it didn't feel like a Castlevania game at all.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Although the story was actually really fucking good. Actually, you know what? Let me take that back. Certain points of the story were really good. But overall, like, I don't know. As I said, they were okay, and I'm kind of glad they stopped with them, though.
Yeah.
But, like, as I said, I'm upset that they haven't done any more of the 2D open world, I mean, not open world, but Metroidvania style ones. Mm-hmm. That's why I was happy when I finally picked up Bloodstain. I was worried that Bloodstain was going to be crap because almost every I have this like curse that every time I throw money at a Kickstarter, it turns out mediocre at best.
Aww.
The amount of times I've thrown money at, like, a band to, hey, put out a new CD. Then the CD comes out and it's meh. It literally, like, a handful of times. Indivisible, I threw money at that video game, and that was actually a decent game, but it wasn't spectacular. Like, it had a lot of potential that seemed like it was missed potential once it was finally released. But Bloodstain turned out to be a lot better than I expected it to be.
Mm-hmm. That was a good game.
I'm still waiting for all the fucking DLC that was promised. But
yeah, keep waiting.
Shut up.
I will say I I was looking, and I think if I can find at a reasonable price the steelbook to with the Switch cartridge holder, I might actually spring to pick it up.
Here's the
That
thing.
might be the piece that tips me over the edge, honestly.
It wasn't sold with the steel case though.
Mm-hmm.
The steel case was sold entirely separately through Best Buy.
Yeah,
And also, by the way, the steel case is not Switch size.
I know. I saw that.
Yeah, it's PlayStation game sized.
I'm okay with that. I've got all sorts of weird shit on my shelf that
Fair enough.
odd sizes. So
Yeah, like I went through a large ordeal to manage to get my hands on that shit, but I don't know. I said in these games also I love the little details like the boots that discreetly increase height,
Right.
or the like.
Please tell me they were called platform boots.
They were something like high top boots or something like that.
Okay.
This was in which one?
Symphony of the Night.
Symphony of the Night. Oh, I'll be looking at. You guys keep going.
Yeah, but what was it? The like Bloodstained had a part where there's just an open area with a piano, and you can sit down and actually your character will play the piano. I found out if you have the fairy familiar out, she'll sing while you're playing the piano. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Completely minor detail that means fucking nothing, but it was amazing. You know? I love shit like that. Like
Just
Ori,
unnecessary quirks.
yeah. Like Ori was, I literally picked up, like, okay, the story of me buying Ori, this is a fucked up story, is I saw a video, like a trailer for it somewhere. And I'm like, that is the prettiest fucking game I've ever seen. I gotta see this. So I researched into it and found out Xbox only. And I mulled over it for about a month. And I finally bought an Xbox just for this game. I bought an Xbox for a $20 downloadable game. And I played it through like 3 or 4 times. And then eventually the system was just sitting. And I wasn't using it anymore. So, and I was like, I'll probably never end up going back to it. So I ended up giving the system to Larry as a wedding gift.
Aww.
And not 2 months later, I thought to myself, I really want to play Ori. So my dumbass goes and buys another fucking Xbox.
You didn't buy another one until the sequel got announced, if I remember correctly.
Right before it, yeah. And then when I finally bought that, then they're like, hey, we're going to put it on Switch, like, you motherfuckers. Story of my life, though.
You didn't have your Switch yet then either, though.
Nope.
So.
But, yeah. I literally bought it because I bought it again. What finally cemented it was them announcing the sequel. It was going to be Xbox exclusive.
Yeah.
Oh, you guys are going to be disappointed. They're just called Secret Boots.
Oh, are they?
Yeah.
I don't feel disappointed by that, actually. I kind of like that it's just Secret Boots.
But they are platforms. I mean, if you look at the item, they got like a platform underneath where the sole is like a little bit thicker.
Uh-huh.
So, anyhow.
There's a ton of items in that game that are completely useless.
Yeah.
Like there's one sword, there's a cursed sword that every so often you'll try and swing it and it just won't draw from the sheath. Like it's just a cursed sword. There's a food item that's a peanut that in order to eat it, your character flicks it up in the air and you have to get under it and hold up. Otherwise, it hits the ground and is useless. Just so many little details like that are just completely unnecessary, but fantastic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, see, and you and I talked about this a few months ago, but I have a hard time getting into the Castlevania stuff because of a lot of the layers of menu and crafting and everything else. I have no interest in. It pulls me out of the experience. For some reason, somehow the DS ones still clicked with me. I really liked them. I don't know what it was, but I haven't had that draw to really any other entries in the series besides the DS ones.
Mhm.
So, God, especially Dawn of Sorrow.
Yeah,
Really,
the
I
two Sorrow
adore.
games were fantastic. Order of Ecclesia I actually really liked. Order of Ecclesia is very much a precursor to Bloodstained, though. Like, there's a
Okay.
lot of very similar concepts between the two, actually.
That's the only DS one I didn't get around to playing.
Portrait of Ruin was good, too.
I liked that one a bit, too.
I have Order of Ecclesia if you want to borrow it sometime.
I would, actually. I liked Portrait as well, but I still think Dawn was my favorite.
Oh, yeah. But, like, those were all fantastic, but I still think Symphony of the Night was a better game. Like, it was just, there was bigger, it was just bigger and there was more to it. And, like, I don't know, as I said, I enjoyed it. Like, that one, and as I said, I didn't find that one until near the end of the lifespan of the PS2.
Okay.
A friend of mine had it. It's like, here, you need to check this out.
Right. And for a while, it was definitely on the scarce side.
Yeah.
But I mean, now it's on a plethora of platforms digitally, at least. So I mean, it's fairly readily available, at least again.
Yeah.
So, which part of me wonders if that's. I don't think it's by any means the whole thing, but I do think there's a component of that that's lended itself to the boom of the Metroidvania genre in terms of the indie scene and digital distribution, is that gateway has been reopened, or is much easier to open again, in terms of access to that game as well as Super Metroid. And so you've got more people kind of coming into it or being able to play it for the first time that maybe didn't get their hands on Symphony on PS1 when the scarcity went up and the price went through the fucking roof. So, I think I don't even think it's a big piece of the puzzle, but I do think maybe it's in there somewhere. So, but
I think also, like, a lot of indie developers are just going that route because they're, it's a good game genre. They know that generally speaking, the moment you slap the label Metroidvania on it, there's a decent chunk of the population that's going to be interested. Like Time Spinner, I never would have looked at Time Spinner if it hadn't been for the fact that somebody said Metroidvania with it, and I was like, all right, I'm interested.
Right.
It's
that Rick and Morty meme. You son of a bitch, I'm in.
Yeah.
God, we're all fucking saps for that.
We really are too.
Fuck, I now need to write that meme. New indie game. I don't care. Metroidvania. You son of a bitch, I'm in.
Yeah, it's factually accurate.
It is. It's kind of terrifying. God, we're whores.
Yes, we are.
So, but yeah,
not me. Jeez.
No, I was talking very
games.
specifically about Michael and I on that one.
Wait, what?
I was talking very specifically about Michael and I on that one.
I know you were. I'm just making sure that the rest of the audience knows that I am not a part of this.
See, and that's the thing. Like, I generally stick to a handful of specific series that I've been following for a while. The biggest exception to that, though, is the moment someone says Metroidvania. Like, I will try a Metroidvania before anything else.
See, and I'm the type who will play. You throw a game at me, I'll try it, give it I'll play any type of game. But that, I think, comes from also having played lots of different types of games growing up, too. So, we kind of did everything. And that was kind of cool, growing up with all different types of games and seeing that evolve.
No, and I can appreciate that. I mean, I had a fairly wide scope, but I eventually...
shut up, you youth. You youngin'. I don't want to... Let's not hear from the kiddie pool.
I just happily honed in on the ones that I liked the most as I grew. So...
I mean, I guess I really don't have I guess I don't have a place to talk since, I like Fortnite and everybody hates on it in this group.
No, we just like to give you a hard time about it. There's a difference.
No. But
So, but I think that's a good place to put a pin in this for this week. Um, so before we go, as always, I want to thank my partners in crime, Kathy and Michael, for joining me this week. Thank you to everybody who tuned in this week and downloaded us or watched us on YouTube, or however you so chose to ingest us into your life. Um, and make us a part of you, which, make no mistake, if you've heard any of this, we are now part of you on a cellular level, and you will never get that shit out. I don't care how hard you scrub.
Sounds dirty.
So, it is. It's dirty like the subscribe button that you should hit, but don't ask permission first because it's totally into the consensual non-consent. So...
oh my god, seriously.
And in those other places, you can substitute subscribe button for add to RSS feed, or on Twitch, you can substitute in the follow, where that also, on our Twitch channel, we've also got, speaking of, this is the perfect time to, toss that out there. We are building towards that Blasphemous Collector's Edition giveaway from Limited Run Games as well. We get to 200 followers on our Twitch channel, we're going to be live streaming some Blasphemous and give away that collector's edition copy on Switch to somebody in the chat that day on that stream. So if you haven't already, you should totally follow us on our Twitch channel. That's twitch.tv/World11 Podcast, all spelled out. And you should also get your friends to follow us on Twitch, so that way we can get to the 200 mark and somebody can win that fucking game. Because that shit's dope. We were just looking on eBay again, and that's the pre-ordered copies that I haven't even gotten in hand yet are running up to like the $400 mark on eBay. It's ridiculous.
I want my copy. I cannot wait.
As soon as it gets here, Lagur will ship it to you.
I know.
So, but which it's supposed to be next month is what it's still saying. I know the standard edition copies have shipped out, and that cover art is fucking gorgeous on there. Woo! So... But in any case, so with that said, thank you to everybody for tuning in. Thank you to my partners in crime. And we'll see you again next week here at World 11 Podcast. Say goodnight, everybody.
Yo.
Peace.